Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Stephen Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me again tonight as we go through do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditation. This will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, as this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right here on this podcast with y'all. So it's been quite a interesting up and down for November. It started off a little slow, but it's shaped up into be a really great accumulation here at the end of November. The last week and a half or so really has been some good, uh, solid stuff from about just some of the original things or some of the building up of a practice of spirituality. And that yesterday we talked about that self discipline and that purification process of getting through our own personal opinions and desires and getting down to the truth and reality of situations, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing what today's is, or what today's is regarding. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we go. This is November 26th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. The Rock of Ages, Christ within, the divine and immortal in all men. As a man practices self-control, he approximates more and more to the inward reality and is less and less swayed by passion and grief, pleasure and pain, and lives in a steadfast and virtuous life, manifesting manly strength and fortitude. The restraining of the passions, however, is merely the initial stage in self discipline and is immediately followed by the process of purification. By this, a man so purifies himself as to take passion out of the heart and mind altogether, not merely restraining it when it rises within him, but preventing it from rising altogether. By merely restraining his passions, a man can never arrive at peace, can never actualize his ideal. He must purify these passions. It is in the purification of his lower nature that a man becomes strong and godlike. Wow, what a last line that is. It is in the purification of his lower nature that a man becomes strong and godlike. Those are some big words there, or some powerful words, some heavy words. And I think that's a beautiful promise. It's a statement of fact, is the way it's presented, and my experience shows that that is the direction of living a spiritual life. It is the ultimate goal. It's not the goal even. It just is a side effect of this purification process, right? It's very apparent to me that those are achievable qualities. They don't come though when you aim at them. They come from living them, or they come from living virtuously. The goal to be strong doesn't work. Be strong about what? No, adhere to your virtues, adhere to honesty, always adhere to hope, faith, forgiveness, integrity. These are the things, courage, it's a big one. These are the things we adhere to. These are the things we hold on to. These are the things we embody. And then the accumulation of living that way presents as strong and godlike to others. If your goal is to be godlike, there might be a problem, just as a side note. Ego is a hell of a thing. But let's go through. We'll do this whole reading again. I loved this. It's a to some it's a hot take. I think that's what they say these days. It's something that people like to people don't like to believe can happen. At least part of it. So, but I'll mention it. I'll mention it when I get there, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in detail. So, here we go. Let's get this started again. The Rock of Ages, the Christ within, the divine and immortal in all men. That's talking about that little piece of that little piece of eternity, that little piece of the divine. Is what he says here. The immortal within, the everlasting, right? That that is our spirit. That is our soul. That is the part that comes in alignment with that source and creator of that energy that seems to be all present, that is where we end up. And that is what we're becoming in tune with. It's within everyone. I believe that today. So, as a man practices self control, he approximates more and more to the inward reality. So, the inward reality, that immortal and divine perspective, and is less and less swayed by passion and grief, pleasure and pain, and lives a steadfast and virtuous life, manifesting manly strength and fortitude. His use of words is just always interesting to me. I love that second part here. Is less and less swayed by passion and grief, pleasure and pain. Right, our emotions have less push on us and less pull on us. They said our emotions begin to just not even have the ability to shake us from our foundation on virtuous and spiritual living. We become steadfast, as it says, in our way of life and our practice of spiritual virtue. It's an incredible, incredible thing we get the opportunity to do. And through doing this, we do live a steadfast and virtuous life, manifesting manly strength and fortitude. This is a lot about integrity and character and being the embodiment of what he believes a man to be. To be the embodiment of strength and fortitude, right? This is to be an upright, forthright, and individual of integrity. And through that, you manifest manly strength and fortitude. These are not things that, again, these qualities are things people will observe in you. You can't go and claim to be, I have manly strength and fortitude. It's something people would most times observe about you because of the practice, because the practice of your virtues and your commitment to the spiritual path. It's interesting. I guess I've got to come up with a little bit more verbiage around the difference because there's qualities of character we get to embody, and then there's these observable qualities that other people can walk away with saying, right? But they're not ones we can aim for. They're not ones that we are hoping to achieve. What we aim for is to practice honesty. That's always my go-to because it's such an important one. But it being of service, love, gratitude, all of these things, right? And we stand by those principles, disciplines, and virtues. And then these other things, the strong and godlike, the manly strength and fortitude. These are things that people will observe about us. And we don't even need to have an interest in why or what they're saying. That's the craziest part about it, is to achieve these things, we need not care if that's, or if we are to achieve these things, they cannot be the goal of what we are trying to achieve. We have to allow them to just manifest, should they manifest by the way we live, which is sometimes a difficult thing. The restraining of the passions, however, is merely the initial stage of self-discipline. Here we go. I love talking about this. Restraint is the initial stage of self-discipline. It is and is immediately followed by the process of purification. So it's self discipline, or excuse me, it's self restraint of passions. Then it goes into the purification process. The purification process, by this, a man so purifies himself as to take passion out of the heart and mind altogether. See, I've said this about 12-step programs, and now I realize that's a and it applies to spiritual living in general. In a 12-step program, usually when practiced properly, can is a spiritual program, right? So it's a spiritual way of living. So when you practice a spiritual way of living, it's living spiritually is in the business of removing what psychologists and the medical world today would call triggers instead of just coping with them, right? By this, a man purifies himself as to take passion out of his heart and mind altogether. Not like we're not here to just endure our own misery over and over again. We're here to release ourselves from it, to gain freedom from it. That's what this is about. If I just had to endure my own miserable fears and inadequacies and insecurities in life, instead of actually take a look and see what's going on and free myself from them, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Excuse the term, but it's insufferable if you don't have a way out. So many people fall to this, and it's heartbreaking now that I know when I'm on the other side. I've been in the darkest pits of hell. I've been in the darkest recesses of my own soul in the world. And this is the only thing that's gotten me out. And being able to have a happy, joyous, and free life, to embrace a different way of living, was living a spiritual life. So when it says this stuff, when it says we purify ourselves by taking the passion out of our heart and mind altogether, I believe this because it's happened for me. And then he goes on that sentence to say, not merely restraining it when it rises from within, but preventing it from rising altogether. Because when you do this work and you take a look at why you want to do this stuff, suddenly the power is gone in it. And suddenly you can modify how you think about something. You can take on a new way of thinking about the roots of a behavior so fast when you're willing to do it and you've practiced this way of life. So we're not in the business of enduring our triggers, our emotional stressors and turmoil. We're in the business of getting rid of them, to be able to walk through life freely instead of enslaved to our own fear. What a beautiful thing that is. I'm so happy that this type of living was given to me. More so, I was directed to the path of this type of living. Gratitude I have for it is beyond measure. Finishes the main block of this by saying, by merely restraining his passions, a man can never arrive at peace, can never actualize his ideal. He must purify these passions. We have to get rid of them. Why do they serve us? What are they serving? Right? If you want peace in your life, and that peace can grow in depth and breadth the more work you do. But if you want it in any capacities, you must do the purification process, because merely restraining, it's a drunk that doesn't change how he thinks. It's a drug addict that doesn't change how he lives. It's called white knuckling it, or dry. And it is so painful because the world still hurts because you haven't seen it differently yet. We have to purify our emotions. We have to purify our thinking to be able to walk into the oasis and paradise that is peace of mind and serenity of soul. It's out there for you. I promise. Pick a path and walk it. You'll be amazed what you can walk into and what will come out of it for you. It's absolutely amazing. Just like this last line, it is in the purification of his lower nature that a man becomes strong and godlike. The purifications of our opinions and thoughts, and the purifications of our deeds and actions. Our passions, he says here. That's what he likes to call them. Our emotional states. Those things that get us in trouble. So beautiful reading. Absolutely beautiful reading. What a way to come sliding into the end of November here. Just a couple days left. Really fantastic. So happy to have read this one tonight. And I've got to remember that. It's an important point. We're in the business of getting rid of these triggers, guys. We're not trying to just endure life anymore. So with that, I will let you go this evening, and I will be looking forward to tomorrow. So until next time, thanks.